Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and here's a two-part video, this is part one, about the need to understand Saturn's demand on us and Saturn's energy in 2023 and early 2024, centering on the date Saturn turns retrograde, June the 17th, 2023. We absolutely all need to understand the huge demand that Saturn's transit energy places on each of us. We could start off by seeing the date of this Saturn station as just the centre date. It's the centre date of a much, much bigger, super slow, super powerful Saturn timetable lasting from March 23 to February 24. I give a more exact timetable at the end of the blog, and this long Saturn energy places huge and karmic demands on us. So do see the more detailed timetable in the accompanying blog post. Now, the first overall important to realise truth of the matter is that when Saturn slows and then stations and then turns retrograde, he carves his energy ever deeper, ever more demandingly into our lives, into our emotions, into our mental realizations, and hopefully our spiritual realizations. So what sort of demands will Saturn place on us at this time? Basically, Saturn is Lord of Karma. He's a major part of the karmic demands that are placed upon us in this lifetime, in this incarnation. Let's look first, this is the part one video, at the general Saturn karmas that are imposed upon all of us at such a time. It's good to have these explained to you. We need to look at the general nature of Saturn to understand the demands he'll place on us all at this time, although secondly, we also have to look at the personal dimensions that will affect each of us separately and individually, and I cover those in part two video. So the general nature of Saturn's demands that he'll place on us at this time is lots and lots of pressure and difficulty, self-doubting, torment, despair, whatever it is. But the point is, we need to see those as prompts to become the self-mastering spiritual hero. We need to seek to define the guideline of who and what is our self-mastering spiritual hero, and seek to manifest that in the face of the Saturn-imposed difficulties, which of course have a spiritual purpose behind them, their imposition. You see, Saturn will force us to see at this time where our path forward is wrong for our spiritual fulfillment and for our correct destiny path in this life. Saturn's energy, as we perceive it in lower form, is limitation, illness, contraction, and karma. Saturn will force us to see where our karmic baggage is cutting us off now from our light hero potential. And at this time, we really do need to be sure that we're relying on sound judgment skills to choose the right option and make the right actions for the best pathway forward now. Rely on sound judgment skills. Interestingly, at the time of the Saturn station, there's a new moon the day after, and it's square Neptune. It's square Mercury. And so negatively, this could throw us into oversensitivity or confusion and misunderstandings and wrong decisions and intuition based on subconscious fears. The moon phase lasts till the new moon of July the 17th. And of course, as I said, the sun of this new moon is squaring Neptune too. But the positive thing is that we can use Neptune energies for vision, for intuition, for journeying, not for illusions. We can use Saturn square Mercury energies to make sound decisions following our vision intuitions. Because Saturn will be retrograde from the 17th of June, look out for the chance to redo any task you were struggling with or getting wrong earlier this year. Examine the difficulties you experienced and ran into deeper. You see, Aquarius, and Saturn is transiting Vedic Aquarius all this year and next year, is an innovative energy. So it's a good time to look for different solutions. It's essential to wipe out diversions, any diversions we're letting, occupy our mind, and it shouldn't, because we're supposed to be focusing our mind. It's important to structure our time usage according to the correct needed focus for our priority tasks. So we need to be wise in our priorities and stable in our approaches from now until early next year. So in general terms, Saturn will pressure us to become aware of past hurts and wounds. They'll likely surface with a divine purpose of bringing in healing and light and leaving them behind as we envision and increasingly embody our divine hero self. As I said, Saturn will force us to finish up any unfinished business. And with Saturn's energy so strong, as it has been and as it will be, we'll all be feeling a measure of frustration and delay. Now, as I explain in the part 2 video, there are also special individual and personal twists and dimensions to the Saturn tale, but that's for part 2. So here's what we generally need to understand. Saturn's nature is responsibility. Saturn is stern and exacting. Saturn demands the inevitable nature of things be fulfilled fully. Saturn is fate. Saturn is the regimen needed for our most spiritual possible life path. Saturn demands that we stick to the straight and narrow, although of course allow for possible death and rebirth experiences and rationally chosen redirections. Saturn is the suffering that makes us grow. Saturn retards, holds back and slows down. You see, Saturn at root and anciently is an agricultural deity, and the growing of crops is harmed by shortcuts. But when crops flower, when all needed steps of preparation and nurturing are properly made, it's a wonderful, glorious Saturn reaping that we'll all experience in our life paths and our task. If your job is being done in a way that is right for the expression of your nature, that nature which is to be fulfilled in this lifetime, well, that's good. But if you're doing the wrong job, well, then you'll be compelled to dump that wrong job. Or to dump the wrong way of doing your right job, and you'll suffer if you fail to do that. In fact, we can find at this time that we are compelled to some sort of servitude situation that forces us to find ultimately the right way of earning, the right way of living, the right way of working, calling us to get out of servitude by developing the bigger vision. You'll be forced to overcome adversities or limitations or suffer if you fail to do so. If your approach to money is wrong, you could feel more increased poverty at this time. Hold on to what you have, assuming what you have is ethically obtained. Through his divine nature, Saturn has the power to limit or destroy. But this can be so needed destruction, so valid destruction. We can, all of us, need at different times in our life a death and rebirth time. Destruction is the necessary counterpart for creation. That's the essence of Lord Shiva, of Kali. Death is required for new growth. Impermanence is one of the key values underlying a human incarnation. We need to learn to realize this and be prepared for death and rebirth when it's needed. Death is at its highest the gateway to us becoming immortal. If our beliefs and attitudes are not spiritual enough, our habits are simply not spiritual enough, well, Saturn will cause us to feel depression, melancholy, self-pity, worry, anxiety. If our minds are boxed in, Saturn will cause us to feel fear and darkness in the mind, make us feel we cannot overcome things, life is against us, make us doubt ourselves and become prey to fears, fantasies, phobias and paranoia. You see, lower level Saturn represents the gravity that pulls us down and gets us attached to what is inferior. Remember that for the Greeks, Saturn is the god who eats his children. Limits. Those who live under the spell of those base values, the underside of Saturn, eventually get destroyed. Those who fulfill the spiritual potential of difficulties and challenges and miserable situations, Saturn then rises them up. Saturn is the darkness, death and sorrow, but that we must overcome for the revelation of the true light. And in that way, Saturn is the guardian of the mysteries of true awareness. So at this time, we need to look closely at our problems or illnesses and find the spiritual key that lies within these. And then take the step of turning the key and going through the door to the right path for who we envisage as the spiritual hero self of us to walk forward along at this time. So do book an astrology reading with me, about your life generally in the year ahead, but perhaps with a special focus on your Saturn challenge. And remember that the part 2 video looks at more individual indications of what a Saturn challenge is and how it can be more individually defined. And do see my new dating site for those on a spiritual pathway. It's called Love Star Dating. And my wife, Maggie Pashley, offers a range of healing modalities worldwide. So have a look at her site, www.maggiepashley.com. Do subscribe to my blogs and to my YouTube videos. See the charts for planet positions each month on the monthly astrology charts page of the Star Wheel Astrology website. And have a look at the very useful videos about relationships astrology and understanding our love scripts that are listed on Love Star Dating. And indeed, see testimonials to my work that are listed on Love Star Dating and Star Wheel Astrology. So I hope this part 1 video has been very useful, food for thought and plan for future action. Have a look at the part 2 video, which identifies the more individual dimensions of Saturn's impact, the more personal dimensions, and see the accompanying blog. Hope this has been helpful and look forward to working with you. Thank you.